Like if I walked away, like there's 40 people in it. If I walked away in 40th place, I would have been hanging my head and pretty upset with myself. Luckily, I had a good day and got 21st, which I was like, I will take that. You know what I mean? I'm new to the whole scene, and it was great. So I came in, with my chest puffed out, and I got 21st place, and I was happy. But years ago, if I got 21st place, I would still just be fixated on the 20 people that were better than me.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
All right, so today we want to start talking about competition.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great subject for me because I'm super competitive. Definitely more competitive than you.
No, not even close, dude.
Oh, whatever,
dude.
I'm
way more competitive than you, dude.
No,
you can't
not
even
a
hold a candle.
You don't even know. No. Yeah, we're both competitive, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be a fun one because what does competition even mean? Why are some people naturally more competitive than others?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of impact does competitiveness have in your life?
Right.
I think it's definitely a big part of my life because I've always been competitive to do better, right? To be better and all that. And I think some of that has pushed some of my motivation to do things in my life that maybe I wouldn't have strived for otherwise.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep in mind is like the drive to be better. That's not being competitive. The competitive is about beating others. It's about coming out on top, right? And it correlates with being better because you can't beat others unless you get better. Mm-hmm. And you just went through, like you just did MCC, which was like super, like it's literally Minecraft competition,
right?
And it's like I was so bummed that I wasn't able to watch this last one, but I knew you're going to do well because you don't ever. You don't half-ass stuff. If you're going to go do something, you're going to do it.
You said
right.
a naughty word on our pot. No, PG-13.
Listen to me. The reason this is going to be a fun topic is because I think that a lot of our past topics, we've kind of, I wouldn't say that we've said competition's a bad thing. I wouldn't say that at all, but there has been times like in regards to the art of conversation, don't converse to win unless you're on a debate team or you're a lawyer, that whole thing. So there's been times when I've been compelled to kind of illustrate the difference between what healthy competition is and then also when it's kind of getting a hold of you or whatever. But when we had our little joke in the beginning about who's more competitive than the other person or whatever, you are a very competitive person. And I come off like I'm not a competitive person. But what you're seeing is the version of me that is like who I've just leaned into in the last handful of years because when I was younger, I was competitive to an absolute fault, right? And to the point to where I had to win to whatever I was doing. I had to win to feel normal. If I lost, it would just rock my world. But when I would win or get first place or come out on top, I wouldn't even feel happy. That was just to feel normal. And that would started to consume me over the years to where I was like, I'm going to drop this baggage. I have to drop this baggage.
Feels very unhealthy to live that way for sure.
It sucked.
And that was the right word you used, healthy competition, right? Because like getting to the point to where you're so obsessed over winning could just drive you insane, right? And definitely affect your morale and everything like that because you're not always going to win. Like there's no way, like so many things in life that you're going to compete at, you're not going to win them all. Yeah. I can't imagine there's a person on the planet that has won every single competition that they've ever been in. So you have to learn how to deal with losing. Yeah. And if you can't accept that, then that's going to be pretty bad for you. Yeah,
there's a funny line in one of the Office episodes said by Andy Bernard, played by Ed Helms, where he goes into the format of The Office is it's a show, and then every once in a while one of the characters will find themselves in sort of a confessional situation where they're talking to the camera, and and Ed Helms says Andy Bernard does not lose. Andy Bernard wins or he quits because it's unfair. And it was like the funniest thing in the world, but that was somebody who the character he was depicting there was somebody who cannot function in a world where they lose. Now the character ends up having this arc where it's not the case anymore, but they can't function in a world where they lose. And I'm willing to bet that there's probably plenty of people in our past who I have a lot of friends from my youth, and we all would compete and do our thing, and losing would suck, but we had our handful of people where losing was never on the table. So what they would do is if whatever was being played at the time, if their loss was kind of coming, they would alter the universe to make sure the loss didn't get there, right? They would reset the Nintendo, or they would break something. You know what I mean? I had a good buddy of mine that we played a lot of ping pong, right? And I was pretty good, but he was better. And quite literally, I will quite literally tell you, out of 200 games, I would win once, maybe twice. So they were always good games, but he would always win. And that was a lot of loss for me to take, right? And I remember one time, boy, I had his number. I was locked in, and it felt good. It felt good. I was getting it done. I had the lead. I'm doing my thing, and he couldn't handle it, and he broke his paddle. So now we can't play. Now we can't finish the game. You know what I mean?
Wow,
so I'm just like, dude. So that's unhealthy competition.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's something that had to be learned as well. I think when I was younger, I definitely couldn't handle losing, and by younger I mean like yesterday.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's still a process.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned MCC, and I was in it. Had I had a rough day, I probably would have been pretty bummed. You know what I mean? Like if I walked away, like there's 40 people in it. If I walked away in 40th place, I would have been hanging my head and pretty upset with myself. Luckily, I had a good day and got 21st, which I was like, I will take that. You know what I mean? I'm new to the whole scene, and it was great. So I came in, with my chest puffed out, and I got 21st place, and I was happy. But years ago, if I got 21st place, I would still just be fixated on the 20 people that were better than me.
Yeah.
And not be able to accept like, oh, this is actually great. This is where I'm at right now. And I'm going to continue to strive to get better. And maybe someday I'll be what they call S tier. I don't know if you know the system of ranking. But yeah, no, I've been introduced to many new terms now that I'm in this competitive scene. I had players on my team that were cracked. Yesterday I was popping off. So
you're learning all the new lingo. Nice, I like it.
And someday I'm going to be in a S tier. Right now, I think I'm a B minus. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I mean that's something that I had to learn over time. Is like sometimes it's okay to just accept this is where you are. Like in competition, like you said, like you lost 99 times out of 100 or whatever, and you were okay with that because you knew, like it's not the end of the world to lose.
It sucked at first, right? But then there was like this thing I just sort of leaned into. Well, he's and this is also the dude that was, I mean, just good at everything, dude. And so I was like, well, at least I'm losing to him. You know what I mean? Everybody else I play with, I'm going to win maybe half or more than, or maybe all the time, but at least I'm losing to him. But I kind of leaned into it because it really sucked at first. That whole thing that I have to win to feel normal. That was probably one of the first chapters of me being like, I need to curve this a little bit. Otherwise, every single game I play is going to not be fun. I remember I was playing racquetball with my brother. My brother's a lot older, and I was young. Yeah, I was probably like 14 or 15, and we were playing racquetball. So that would have made him like in his early 20s. And I was able to. He knew the game better than me. But I had speed, I had agility on him, right? So I thought that was going to be enough, but it wasn't going to be enough because he knew the game better. Boy, was I getting mad. But I was getting so mad, but not because I was losing. I was getting mad because very, very similar to why I was legitimately like frustrated afterwards when we did that competition on Zed's patron server, because it was like, I'm not even a contender. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like I was so mad because I'm like, this is the worst version of myself. Why can't I get this? And my brother taught me a valuable lesson. He's like, if you freak out one more time, I'm walking out. You know what I mean? And it was the right thing to do because I freaked out and he walked out and it ruined the game. Wow. But it should, because I was ruining the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like, it's okay to be competitive, but you got to keep a sharp eye on it because it can take a hold of you.
There's a couple things. There's like two sides to competition as well. If you think about it, there's the people you're going against in the competition, which you have zero control over, right? And then there's how well you were doing, and that you have control over. And so I try to think about that too. Like yesterday when I competed, I was like, okay, did I do everything in my power to put together a performance that I could be proud of? And the answer at the end of the day was yes. Yeah, I prepared, I trained, I did. I could have put in a few more hours here or there, but I did. I tried. I tried my best, and that's the goal. Is anytime you're going into competition, did you try your best?
Yeah.
You can't help that you got, I had 20 people who have been doing this much longer and have much more training than I do and much more skill than I do, that placed ahead of me, what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I'm okay with that, and so that's what I look at competition wise is like, focus on what you can control and forget about what you can't. And then the results will just happen.
That's good. And I think that ends up tying back to what we talked about in the very beginning, that there's just trying to be the best version of yourself. And then there's competition and the fact that there is a connection there. In order to be competitive, then you really need to always be trying to find the best version of yourself to do that. And let's look at this. Let's look at this at the most elite form of competition, right? Which is the Olympics. And what's funny is you look at like these gymnasts and these pole vaulters and I mean, there's so many different events in the Olympics. And whenever you see any sort of documentary of them practicing and rehearsing and getting up early and working out and doing that whole thing, one thing you almost never see is a smile on their face. It is hard work because their objective is not to be a good pole vaulter. Their objective is to be the best pole vaulter on the planet. And their competition is thousands of people whose objective is to be the best pole vaulter on the planet. So now the idea of competition is they're all there for the same reason. They're all there to be the last person standing, and they're all competing against that. They're going for that gold medal. Everybody is there, and it just turns into this world where it's just business. Yeah. It's just absolute business.
Because in their minds, every single one of them, I'm sure, is thinking, if I'm not practicing, somebody else is right now. And they're getting better than me. Yeah. So like that becomes their entire life. And I mean, to get obsessive, if you have a goal like that and that is your goal, like, and that's all you want in life right now is to be in the Olympics and win, then yeah, I think you'd have to get like super obsessive about it and really get after it, like you're saying, and treat it like business. And then hopefully at the end of the day, when they reach their goal, they can then smile. Right?
Yeah. There was, when I used to be a CrossFit coach, the gym that you and I went to, before it was the gym we were at, it used to be called competitive fitness. And that's what CrossFit is. It's workout competitions, for lack of a better phrase. So it's a high intensity. And there was a gentleman who worked out at our gym that had a lot of gym muscle, right? And what I mean by that is that some people are way stronger than they look, and some people are not as strong, like look stronger than they actually are. He was one of those people. He was strong, but there was lacking mobility there. There was no endurance. There was no stamina. It was so this was a guy that whenever there was weights involved was going to beat everybody. Being number one on the leaderboard was his only objective. His only objective, dude. And it wasn't that hard when he was competing against people who are twice his age and have a very different lifestyle and stuff like that. And I'd had enough because we do modifications all the time in regards to if somebody is trying to lift more than I think that they should, I'd be like, no, you got to go down and weight. Like this is a precarious move. I'm not going to have you putting weight over your head when you don't have the stabilizers yet. So go down and weight because there's going to be no injuries on my watch. Well, conversely, I would also do it when there was other people who weren't pushing themselves enough. This was a dude who I couldn't get him to go up in weight. He was strong enough to where he shouldn't be down at this weight. This is why you're beating everybody. Because, I mean, you're not just beating them, you're humiliating everybody because you're down at this weight. And I'd finally had enough. One of the exercises I remember was cleans. And cleans where you grab the bar at the bottom and you just pick it up to a full rack position. And the weight was, I think, 95 pounds. And the reason was because it was high volume count. And I knew it was going to happen. He was going to have terrible form, and he was going to muscle it through because he had that gym muscle, and he was going to crush everybody. And so I said, go up to 135. He's like, what? And I said, you can do 135 with good form. I know you can. He's like, and he was very upset with me. And I was like, dude, I've had enough. I was like, you're not here to just crush everybody. I know it's called competitive fitness, but this is about actually being healthy, being in shape. And I said, you go up to 135. And so we had an argument, so he did. And when all was said and done, he didn't get first place on the leaderboard. He did very well, but what people did see was, no, he didn't get first place, but geez, look at the weight he was lifting. Yeah. And he was lifting, and it was a healthy, he did it, and like he knew once he went higher, you have to do it correctly type thing. And so when it was done, it was the first time I saw a workout finish and him actually fall down on the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like,
Progress.
yeah, I was like that right there.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. And he never liked me after that.
Oh man, I forgot that there's so many different ways to be competitive that like when you mentioned CrossFit, because we did do CrossFit for a while, and I forgot that my competitive nature also came out really, really strongly during all of our CrossFit WODs,
Yeah.
you know? In fact, the first time I went into CrossFit and they do what they call a baseline, you know, there's a special set of reps and moves that you have to do. And just to kind of, for the coaches there to see where you're at, where your fitness level is
500-meter row, 40 squats, 30 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, 10 pull-ups.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
As fast as you can.
As fast as you can. So I went in and of course, because I'm competitive, I wanted to get the high, you know, the lowest time as possible. I pushed myself so hard, I ended up throwing up.
Yes, you did.
After the workout. The coach wasn't too happy with me.
Yeah.
I remember he was like, don't do that.
You got outside.
I went
though.
outside. Yeah, I didn't throw up in the gym, but I went outside and I threw up, and he was mad. He was like, you can't do that. Like you can't be throwing up every time you work out. Like you need to be better than that. Like get control of that. And I did afterwards. But I would commonly push myself so hard that I would get to that level to where it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up. And then I remember there was a lot of times where me, you, and our buddy would do the workouts together. And it might be something that I just happened to be good at that day in that WOD or whatever. And I would stay on pace with you guys on purpose instead of like pushing myself harder. And so that at like the last 10 reps, I could just rip them out and beat ahead of you guys by just a few seconds or whatever. And I remember our buddy Joe would get so mad. He was like, you were sandbagging the whole time, just said, pass me at the end, you know? And I would. And like, that was like, oh gosh, I'm super competitive. This might not be good for me.
Yeah, but let me think about this for a second. You always did well. And I do remember that because I was like, he's focusing not on winning. He's focusing on just beating us. Like that, I remember that being like weird. I'm like, don't do that. Just be the best version of yourself.
Right.
And so Joe was very good. Joe was like, he was very strong. He was a very hard worker in CrossFit. And so I was always competing with him. But the reason I was always competing, he's the one who got me into it. Mm-hmm. And the reason I was always competing with him is because that's a good person to compete with because he's going to win all the time. And this is what a great thing to chase. Yeah. And I remember there was a workout called the Deadly Run. And this was so crazy, man. This was like my WOD. And
I remember that one. I almost fell on my face.
Yes, dude. This was a crazy one. You started off, it was 12 deadlifts, and in the RX, the weight was 225 pounds, right? So 12 deadlifts, and then a quarter mile run or eighth mile run, an 8 mile
400 meter run.
400 meter run. Yeah. So a quarter mile. So a quarter mile run. Yeah. So yeah, right? Yes. So yeah, 400 meter run. So that's what it was. It was basically a lap, right? And so you do 12 deadlifts and then a quarter mile run, and then 9 deadlifts, quarter mile run, 6 deadlifts, quarter mile run, 3 deadlifts, quarter mile run. And we got going. Our whole wave went go, and something happened to me where I was like, the competition, the desire to not just beat Joe, but to beat everybody. Something happened to me that day to where competition, the old Skizz, peaked up and said, "You're going to win today, and this is not. We're not negotiating this." Like it was the weirdest thing, and this is how I used to be as a kid. You're going to win today, and that's all I'm going to talk about it. And so what that meant to me was one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to win or I'm going to faint. That's what's going to, or maybe die, but this is what's going to happen. And so we did those 12 deadlifts and everybody did them unbroken, and 225 pounds, not a joke. And I did all 12 unbroken, just like everybody. We all ran out the door at the same time. And as we were coming back, I wasn't first coming back, but I was around first coming back. And my brain's like, here's what's going to happen. Everybody is already fatigued. This is what CrossFit is. Mm-hmm. Nobody's getting through all 9 of these deadlifts unbroken except for you. And I was like, so you all the skin can rip off your hand if it needs to. Giving up, like giving anything less than exactly 100%, 100% is not on the table. So I came back, I grabbed the bar. I didn't think I was going to get all 9. I knew I was. And so I just started going. And when I started hearing those bars drop as expected, I was like, I got it. And so I just kept going, dude. I did all 9 and I ran out the door and I was by myself. I ran out the door and I could still hear them deadlifting behind me. Mm-hmm. So I went, and as I ran it, I was like, so here's what everybody's thinking. they're thinking you're pushing too hard and you're definitely going to fall apart.
Yep.
And it's like, and that's not what's going to happen. I came back in, I cranked out all 6. I ran out the door before they were back. So now I'm passing them, and I started hearing them go, "What is going on?" You know, there. And as I did that, the trainer of the gym ran with me, and he just like was in my ear the whole time. He's like, "Today's your day." Like he ran with me. He's like, "Today." He's like, "Do not let up." And so I just went, and it was like, it helped supplement the voice that was already happening.
Yeah.
I went, did the run, came back. I ripped out the 3, came out. Dude, I didn't get just first place. It was like, everybody thought like, did you skip around? Like it was ridiculous, but it was the power. It was a testament to what you're actually capable of when you have the right fuel. And that started before they said 3, 2, 1, go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I allowed myself to say, I'm going to lean into the fact that competition is something I used to have a sickness with. I'm going to revisit it, you know, and you know what's crazy, dude? Look at my crazy eyes. I haven't really like felt that since I was watching your first MCC. Like it's been like that. I watched your first MCC and I was so I was so pumped up with what I was watching. I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, you have to win. Because I was like, I needed you to win so bad, dude. And when you did, I was just, and I was like, oh my, I want to help so bad. You know what I mean? I was like, this is like, I'm not watching this as entertainment anymore. This is something that just got a hold of me to where I haven't seen that part of me in a very long time.
It got into me too. There's plenty of clips of me just going nuts. But when I got second place on the Terra Swoop Force map, I completely blew up. And when Blushy hit that final shot for our team to win, I was just screaming, primal screams.
Yeah.
Like competitiveness was like really. And I remember I see in my chat, they're just like, he warned us. Impulse warned us that he is ultra competitive, and this might actually be a bad idea for him to do this.
Yeah.
Because like I get into it and like it consumes me.
Yeah.
You know. I'll go back to that CrossFit story because that WOD in particular, I definitely didn't do well, and I remember what happened was the first 9 deadlifts, right, and that like completely cooked.
First was 12
or 12. Completely cooked my hamstrings, and I went to run out the door like I normally would, full stride.
Yep.
And my legs did not extend because my hamstrings were so tight from the deadlifts that I almost face planted.
Yep.
And from there on out, it was like, today's not my day.
Yeah. Because that was what's called a coupler WOD, right? And and that's when there's literally 2 movements that they play on each other. You know, it's like you're not only going to go for a run, but you're not going to have legs when you do it. Like that's kind of the nature of CrossFit. And I remember feeling the same thing. Everybody almost ate it. Yeah. You know, and I did too. I came out I was like, whoa. I was like, we got to get my legs going.
Dude, that conversation makes me want to do CrossFit again. It's been, I don't know.
It's many years.
Too many years. I remember when we first started, you said you were never going to quit.
I know.
Yeah. Doesn't feel bad?
Well,
feels bad.
I said I was going to go. I said I'm going to commit until I'm 50.
50.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe he said 40, and it's okay.
No, I said 50, and honestly, it still eats me up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I mean, this is not an excuse. But this is some insight, right? Everything changed. That's what bothered me. Everything changed, like in that gym. And there's other CrossFit gyms around. But that one particularly, like management shifted over, and the new management at first was good, but then they almost went instantly bankrupt, and they sold it to a couple of dudes that were bumbling idiots. Like it was, and then they ended up losing it, so they ended up selling. So everything changed to where, and I was kind of like a coach during that time, and everything fell apart, and it was one of those things where I was like, this gym sucks. You know what I mean? It started off amazing, and then it turned into this gym sucks.
So we tried to build our own gym in my garage, remember?
And we did
got
that for
all
a
the
while.
equipment, and we did it for a while. Me, you, and your wife, and sometimes your daughter and your son would even join us, right?
Yeah.
And we used all the equipment, and then like summer would come, and it was like, nope.
It was too much.
It was like
too hot.
here in Arizona, when it's 15 degrees out, means like the garage is 120 plus, like inside it for some reason it gets hotter in the garage, it feels like, and so like we just didn't keep it up.
But you know
Still
what?
Have all the equipment though. We can fire it back up.
Yeah, but and then consider this. Like we've got to get back on topic in a second here. But
there's like so many people like, oh, CrossFit talk.
I know. No, but we learned because of what I learned. You know, being at the CrossFit and then being a coach and then specifically writing workouts. Right, I was able to bring that into the gym that we created in your garage. And then there were times when you and I would go to, Mountainside Fitness, and I would write us WODs that were like partner WODs and stuff like that. So I was able to bring that knowledge with me to where it never quite left me, but in regards to having a positive, like an actual regimen. That did fall apart. And
Yeah.
I'm not part of a CrossFit gym now. Like that's a sentence.
Yeah.
I said I was going to be a part of a CrossFit gym until I was 50, and I'm not.
It was a really cool community, and
It was.
yeah, I really liked our first coaches.
Yeah.
So it was a bummer when they stopped coaching, but
Yeah.
all right, we'll get back on topic. But I mean, CrossFit, obviously, the nature of it is competitive, and it gets a bad rap because people that are ultra competitive usually do things they're not supposed to do, and they end up hurting themselves. And so it's just like that's the tone of CrossFit. That's a bad.
CrossFit is not without fault. I'll tell you
Right.
that. Like I'll tell you that right now. And even when I became certified, I remember all the different tests. I was like, nope, I don't agree with that, and I'm not doing that. And one of them is there is a certain degree of injury that they're willing to accept in order to push the human body to its limits, and which is all based in competition. And I can get on board with that. I really can. But I remember being like, no, I'm not going to do that because my shoulder will never be the same because of something I did because I got too aggressive and
Same here. My back.
Your back.
I pushed myself too.
Dude, remember the trainer
hard.
and I, you that competitive nature, you were new at the gym and you did this deadlift. In fact, I'll tell you what, if I can find the clip, I'll find a way to put it up in the corner.
You still
here.
have it, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
People are going to rip on my form, but that's okay.
It was terrible. And I was getting so upset. I was arguing with the trainer. I said, can you please stop? I know him better than anybody. And I was like, he's going to hurt himself.
Yeah.
He's going to hurt himself. He's like, but I don't get to do this stuff. And we had this argument and he kept putting weight on and you're an idiot. And so you ended up lifting like over 400 pounds and like doing a deadlift.
425.
Stupid.
I think was the weight.
That's an incredible amount. But your form was so bad. Your back's never been the same.
My back's never been the same. No. I was having one of those days where like everybody around me was like confused at how I could possibly be deadlifting that much, including myself. I was like, I don't understand how I'm about to deadlift over 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was having this like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable moment where I was like, I need to see how far I can go. Like, am I unbreakable? And I'm not. Turns out I'm not.
Yeah.
And most people aren't. But yeah,
that was insane. That was insane, dude. And if you would struggle doing 225 right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
definitely.
that. Yeah, you would. I think you'd be able to do it. But anyways, that competitiveness got a grip on you, and then it didn't help that people were watching you. And So now you're like,
people were like, what is happening? And so that just fueled me to like prove myself even more. And I was I was
just shaking my head. I'm actually, to this day, I'm kind of upset I didn't just like say no. I thought about it.
Just stop me.
It would have been not well. I almost went over and just started taking the weights off because I'm like, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But I stood back like an idiot and argued with the coach, and I wasn't a coach myself yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was still new. I was still pretty new.
But you knew me.
But I knew you.
I wasn't until I hurt myself, basically.
Yeah, I was well versed in impulse.
Oh man. So like you brought up CrossFit and I was like, oh yeah, there was that aspect of my life where I was competitive, and I started thinking like, what else in my life was I competitive at? And this goes back to like elementary school. I remember like I joined band in like 4th grade and to be a drummer, and I remember they had like the most outstanding band person or whatever, right? And I wanted to win the award. And I did everything I could. I was obsessed with it. I was like, I want that. I want to be the most outstanding band student of the year. And I practiced my tail off. And I remember I had a best friend who was also very similar to me, and we both were like practicing together nonstop. And I ended up winning the award. And next year, he wanted it so bad that he outpaced me basically and trying to get it. And so he worked even harder and he got it. And then I was like, I'm not letting you have it, because elementary school for us went to 6th grade. So I was like, okay, this is my last chance, 6th grade year. I'm getting this trophy, and I worked my tail off. We would work together, and then I would work also after, he left my house, and I got it. I just like went back and forth. So we like established this, like, I'm going to outpace you. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I was even competitive with like band.
Yeah, but that's okay. Think about this. That right there is a prime example of the best part of being competitive, is because what ended up happening was 2 improved products.
Yeah.
You and him. You were both better versions of yourself because of this shared interest to be better than the other person. Mm-hmm. And I think about we talk a lot about the drum line, and especially in my younger years in high school, I had the good fortune of being part of that sick drum line, and we like I said, we were the best, and there was nobody couldn't be touched unless it was, like I said, schools in Texas and stuff. But we went to a competition, and this was the competition, I believe. I don't know. No. We were anyway, it doesn't matter. We were like in New Mexico for this. We had to travel for this, and we were up against just a lot of different schools from around the nation. And there were different awards that were given. And one of them is, it's a caption award for the section. And there's a percussion, are we the best drum line out of all these people? Well, I was new. I was a freshman, and I was walking with my boys. This is the first time I learned that there's like another level of competition, and it's being so good that you don't really belong there. It's like the story of that gym person I told you earlier, right? I was like, we're walking and we can barely hear the announcer because we're like not even in the stadium, and we're walking away to go do something, go act like punks or whatever. We're walking away, and I'm very young, and I'm like, guys, I'm like, they're announcing the caption head for percussion. They're announcing, they're giving the caption, the winner of percussion. And they looked at me and they just chuckled. They're like, yeah, we got it, dude. You know what I mean? And I remember being like, what? And I just kind of stood there as they kept walking, and I just listened, and they said our school, we won. We won first place, and none of us were even there to receive the award because we were too cool for that.
Wow.
And I was like, and it was in that moment, I'm awesome. And so then I just went with them. And what's funny, I actually by my senior year, when leadership had changed and everything, I remember I was back in the storage room, and that first place trophy was buried under a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm taking this. So I have that at home right now.
Nice.
In fact, yeah, I have it on home on a shelf. Oh, I wish I brought it with me. That would have been a good visual aid. It's a big one too, dude. It's a big trophy, and I love it.
You have it. That's awesome. I was thinking, like, competition, you just said it's kind of like sometimes can bring out the best, and you push yourself to a new limit. But for me, also sometimes it just means, like, I don't like to suck at things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily always have to be the best. I think I've gotten over that, but like, I don't like sucking.
Yes.
Like, it's the same thing as like when I don't know something. I don't like being stupid. I don't like not being good at something. And so, like, anytime I know I'm going to get into something where it's going to be kind of competitive, that's why I usually get a little obsessed about it, is because, like, at the end of the day, I don't want somebody to be like, man, that guy sucked. Or especially if I'm on a team, like in MCC, I'm on a team. I'm like, I do not want to be the anchor. If I'm last place on the team, but I didn't drag us down, then it's okay. But I don't want to be like the guy that just like sucks so bad that they had no chance of winning.
Right.
And so sometimes it's just about that. And like, I feel like sometimes I apply the like 90% rule or whatever it is, to where it's like, okay, I need to at least get to a certain point to where nobody's gonna look at me and be like, you sucked.
Yeah.
But I wish I had that time for that extra 10% to like actually become the best at everything I do. But at some point you just don't have time. There's not enough time in the day to be the best at stuff. There's always gonna be somebody like we're talking about in the Olympics that are gonna be more obsessed and be able to dedicate more time because they can than you. And so I think at some point you just have to realize, like we were talking about, like, did you do your best with the time you had? And
yeah,
that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah, and I can identify with that's, like I said, going back to the Zed's patron server, and we had that that fun competition. It was just a little fun competition, but I remember that's what I explained. I'm like, I talked about this in one of my streams, where I was like, I don't care that I didn't win. I cared that I was a disgrace, because something was wrong. I just couldn't get it together. Like, I just couldn't get it together. And so I wasn't just last place. I felt like it was kind of a slap in the face of the creators of these games, because I was like, I'm sorry I wasted your time. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that was. So it was a very similar feeling to where, there's the drive to be the best and accept nothing less. And then there's I just don't want to suck.
Yeah.
I get it.
In that moment, I think you weren't really comparing yourself, because we talked about that, like, comparison is the thief of joy. You weren't comparing yourself to, I hope you weren't comparing yourself and your performance to me, Tango, and Zedif, because the three of us, like, we play Minecraft like 8 hours a day, every single day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where you obviously can't do that. So that would have been bad. But, like, what you're capable of, and that you fell short of what you were capable of, and that's when it really hurts. I had the same thing happen to me this last week when I streamed on Wednesday. I was practicing, and I just couldn't get it together. Like I just was terrible to the point to where I was embarrassed. I was like literally embarrassed that I couldn't do what I normally do and what I knew I was capable of. And it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But it gave me the drive to be like, I'm not letting that happen ever again. And then I practiced my tail off and tried to like figure out, okay, what went wrong? Okay, I changed my settings here, and that probably threw me off a little bit. So maybe not all of it was like my fault. I've played this exact same setting for 10 years, and then I change it and expect to just like adapt to it immediately. Of course I'm not going to, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, if that setting I'm going to keep changed, I'm going to have to practice for like 10 hours to get used to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, you know? So, I mean, yeah, sometimes you got to realize like a couple things could happen. You could just have a bad day. Like we all have bad days, you know? Like sometimes I get up for this podcast and I'm like, wow, my brain's a little foggy today. I'm not sure I'm going to perform well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you have to be okay with that. And let's talk a little bit about competition. Let's see. What's the best phrase? I guess misguided competition. There is such a thing as competition being so much on the forefront of one's mind that they lose the spirit of what we're supposed to be doing here. Case in point would be somebody who cheats at something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's, let's take an aimbot. Anybody who doesn't know what an aimbot is, if you do a first-person shooter game like Battlefield or Call of Duty, and somebody has an aimbot, that's where the game takes over. It does your aiming for you, and it's like a headshot every time. They don't have to try. You just have to point in the general direction of somebody, and the software corrects it for you and does the thing. And those people end up winning. They end up getting first place, last man standing. How was that fun?
Right.
Like, how did you like true competition needs to come with some sort of feeling of accomplishment. And that's where I just get so confused. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, how is that fun for you? That's people to where the competitive piece was more important than the spirit of the activity, right? And we had we used to do this thing over the holidays at the CrossFit gym back in the day. He would do a weight loss challenge, but it wasn't just weight loss. It was body fat percentage, and that was
I have to get in those dunk tanks.
You have to get in the They brought in the dunk tank, so you would and so the premise of this was, you know, he was like, because everybody lets themselves go over the holidays, some to a colossal. Let's be the gym where everybody got even fitter over the holidays, which is not a bad idea. Anyways, we would all do the dunk tank, and everybody would buy in for $100 or whatever it was, and the price was like, you know, a couple grand, and it was nice. It was a good drive, but also was like the wanting to win. Well, everybody did well, right? Everybody did well. I think I got like 8th place or something, right? It wasn't that good, but everybody did well. But the girl who got 2nd place, to me, she won. And here's why. Because she lost a lot. She lost a good amount of weight. She looked a lot better than she did in regards to, she looked healthier. She looked fitter. In her performances, she was crushing the old version of herself. Like in this, how long did we do it for? Like 8 weeks or something like that, or maybe 4 weeks. I really don't know, but
yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't even remember how I did. I do remember that I actually lost weight during the holidays, which was nice.
Right. And so what I had seen from this girl who got 2nd place was, and she was a mom, you know, she was like I don't know how to put it otherwise, very average physique, and then at the end of this, like, dude, you're a rock star. You know what I mean? And so she looked better, she felt better, you know, she was hydrating, she was just making all the right decisions. And she comes in, does the win, everybody wants her to win, and she doesn't win. She gets beaten by a guy who's like in his late 20s who came in and you could see through him because all he did was start. Like, he used to be a wrestler, so he did the whole like, you know, spit and sweat and do all that and don't eat for 3 days and don't drink any water. He could barely walk when he came in. And so so he looked emaciated, and he was actually a fit dude, but he looked awful. It was like one of those things where he was like super strong and super fit, but I'm like, dude, I could totally, like, if we were in a fight, I would win because you're barely walking. He came in and he won because the numbers made him win. And I remember talking to the owner. I'm like, that should never happen again. Because that guy won, but that was not the spirit of this competition. The spirit of this was about health.
Yeah, like he didn't probably even need to lose weight in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. He was already fit. Exactly, right? He was already fit. So when he came in, he looked like it was kind of gross. And I was like, that was not cool. She deserves to get first place everybody knows it. And in the gym,
should have had him do a WOD, and whoever won the WOD right then
that was my
got
idea.
the money.
No, my idea was that when you came into the dunk tank, there was a workout that you did, and we as the coach, I wasn't a coach then, but the coaches are going to know if you're sandbagging, you do a workout, and when you came back in, you had to do the same workout, and you didn't have to beat it, but you had to be within some sort of realm. If you asked him to go get you a cup of water, he would have collapsed on the way to the drinking fountain. It was like he was really bad. And I'm like, that's not the spirit of what this was, man. And the owner was like, I 100% agree. He's like, he was very upset. He's like, and he was, because you shouldn't have to tell people that, you know? And so the guy came in, collected his thousands or whatever, and then left. And then he like left the gym, I think, for a while there. And then the next year we went to do it again, and he found out we were doing the competition again, and he came back, and the owner's like, no. Like, he's like, you're not going to let me join? He's like, I'm not going to let you join. It was, yeah, it was amazing. He was like, He told me, he's like, you completely devalued the spirit of what this competition is. You will not be doing this again. And
nice.
Again, it was a good move.
For him. That's why I like that coach.
Yeah.
Man. You brought up Battlefield, and I was like, oh yeah, there was another period of my life where I was ultra competitive.
Yeah.
Battlefield was fun. So we were at work. We had a team builder, remember, and we had this team of like, I don't know, 8 to 10 people that were really cool. Like we gelled as a team so well. But we were doing a team builder, and our buddy McBean was like, hey, we should go to this like internet cafe gaming place, you know, a place where they got all the computers set up and you can all game together and talk trash in person. And we went there and we fired up Battlefield 2, I think. This is many years ago. And we had so much fun that we decided as a team, like, hey, let's do this. Like, why not do this every week, but like from the comfort of our own homes? So every Thursday night, we would like after the kids were in bed, we played late, like 9 o'clock or something to like midnight.
Nobody's streaming,
later.
Nobody's making money off this.
This is before streaming or anything.
Yeah.
But although thinking back, I wish we recorded every second of this, because there would be some gold in that. I definitely remember times when it was like, dude, if people saw what we just did, they would like that'd go viral.
Yes.
You know? And then there are times where we were just idiots, which was also fun.
Yep.
But I remember like we started really getting into it and like getting into our stats and kill to death ratios and team wins and all this stuff. And I did my usual thing where I got like ultra obsessed with it and super competitive to the point to where like we'd go into work on a Thursday and map out like our missions that we were like, okay, so when it comes to this map, here's what we're gonna do. We're all gonna spawn here. You grab a tank, you grab a chopper. We're gonna flank the enemy this way. Like we were really getting into it, right? And drawing all this stuff up. And then we'd go to play that night. And I remember like my expectations of everybody was to be just as good as I was and put as much effort into the game and everything and into winning. And not everybody wanted to be ultra competitive. Some people just wanted to be casual and play and have fun. And I didn't appreciate that. So I would dig into people sometimes to the point to where like I remember one person they just like they couldn't get it together or whatever. They couldn't manage to do what I expected them to do. And I just dug into them like hard. And I think to the point to where I think we were using like TeamSpeak back then. I think everybody was like, whoa, you know, but didn't actually say anything. And then like the next morning I woke up and I'm like, oh, I was really mean to this person. I'm going to go into work and see them now.
Yeah.
Because like I was getting that kind of like computer muscle.
Yes. That's what
you used to hate me for that.
Yeah.
Because I'd flex that computer muscle.
Yeah.
Like, and then realize, oh no, this is actually a real person I have to go talk to tomorrow. And so I went to the office and I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry about last night. And he was super cool about it. But I was like, oh, man, I got to check myself because...
You shouldn't just feel bad because you have to eventually face them.
No, I felt bad for what I did.
Yeah.
But it also sucked that I had to see them.
Yeah. Well, you know, but the thing is, like, we were both kind of on similar pages. You were a little bit more intense. And I remember you and I decided, let's be the most dangerous chopper duo in the game. And... you were a great pilot and I was the gunner. And so I would, I'd do the TV guided missiles or whatever it was. I'm having a hard time remembering, but those were that was a hard, like you had a hard job. I had a hard job. And I remember like we just started gelling and next thing I know, you're buying all this equipment, dude. You're getting pedals.
I basically like fitted my computer to be a chopper.
Yes. And I was like, what are you doing? Like it was really, really cool. But you and I, we started to, it turned into this is fun, but it was fun. It was always fun. but we started not doing it for fun. If we were doing the chopper, we were doing it to dominate the server.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to be that duo, right?
Yep.
And so we got to a point to where it was our everything, and we would join servers, and you'd see the chat in the server be like, blow up the choppers.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
immediately. That's what I was gonna say. As soon as we joined the server, they immediately go and blow up the chopper, so we couldn't get in.
Yes,
it.
and if we got in one, oh, it's curtains.
Yeah, they knew it.
Yes, and we were. And I remember one time we'd gotten so good that at one point I got sniped out of the chopper. Right, so you're flying, and I'm in there as well, and I got sniped, and so I had to. My body respawned somewhere else. I'm like, dude, I'm dead. You're in the chopper by yourself. And friendly fire was off. So what that meant was I could, if an explosion went off that I set, like C4 I set off, or a Claymore or whatever it was, it wasn't going to hurt myself or anybody on my team. And I said, dude, and I said, fly over to whatever, like the lumber yard or whatever it was, wood cheese. And you came over, and I put a bunch of C4 on the ground. Now, this was a different level of us proving that we're the best. We're not going to just beat you. We're going to kind of humiliate you. And you were coming
Show
up.
off doing it.
Yes. And you were coming up. And as you were doing it, an enemy chopper was approaching you. And I said, fly over me. So I put a C4 on the ground, and I stood on top of it, and I looked up, and I detonated, and my body shoots up in the air. I pop into the chopper. You immediately bank left. I fire a TV-guided missile and take out the chopper.
Yeah.
And it was...
Greatest play in Battlefield history, for sure.
history, dude.
And not caught on camera, of course.
Yes. And even the people we killed went in chat. They were like, that was awesome.
Yeah, man, those are the days.
They were.
Us together. Yeah, we get competitive.
Yeah.
You know, and I think even now, like if we look at things like our podcast, you know, I think you even mentioned it. You're like, our goal, you know, is to like get in the top 200 or 100 like podcasts of all time. Like we are even taking something like this and turning it into some kind of a competition, because it's what helps like drive us to like push us to want to do better and grow and all that. And yeah, of course we're looking at numbers, you know, like it can't help it.
Yeah, we got it. And I think that's a good point. Like I said, top 200, because I'm setting that goal. I'm not happy. I love what we're doing. I'm not happy. I'm not happy until we're in the top 200. And once we get there, because that I'm so proud of what we do. And I like this so very much that this is a chapter of my life that I want to squeeze. I just want it to just get better and better. And I got to be at peace with the fact that sometimes we're going to swing and miss. I have to be cool with that, but that's what it is to be competitive. I am, right, as of this moment, I am competing against other podcasts. I am. And I don't know if there's some giant chart out there that I'm able to look at where we lie. I imagine we're nowhere near 200 because it's such a saturated field. But that's sort of my Everest right now, is I want to get us onto the top 200 eventually. And then when that happens, then I'm going to move the goalpost.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I think having moving targets is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, because why get there and be happy? You know, let's just push it. Keep seeing how far we can go. We
actually have a podcast coming up in the future that's going to be about milestones in general. It's sort of, and we'll dive more into it in regards to the value of milestones at that time. But until then, you touched on something there that when you and I like work together on something, it's very good. You know, it's gold. And we did this before we did, you know, the drum theater stuff. When we worked together, we put together one heck of a show that you know, we were the instructors, and we wrote the show together, and we trained those kids up, and the end product was like, that was good. And what we did was we gave forever memories to all those kids. And let's face it, as much fun as we had, we wanted to win. We wanted to win, and we got second place, but we won. I'm telling you, we won, and I'm not being biased, dude. And the group that beat us, it's not cool that their instructor was one of the judges. I've never gotten over that. I've never gotten over that, and they had a good show. Ours was better. Yeah, and I was so proud of those kids, man.
Yeah. I remember working on that. Like a lot of things, you and I kind of like fill each other's voids. You know what I mean? Like the way your creativity is there for the lack of mine, and my like technical know-how is there for lack of yours. Things like that, like we would, and that's just why we kind of consider ourselves like a yin and yang. You know, what is like the 1 + 1 actually
synergy
equals? So yeah, we have that synergy.
1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly. So that's why we've been working together on stuff for decades now.
Yeah.
And somehow haven't killed each other.
I know, because we're a good
that's
man.
the accomplishment,
But
right
you know
there.
what's funny, dude, is that you are you love all the computer stuff, and I like it. I like the computer stuff. You love the computer stuff. And there'll be times at home when I'm like, there's something new I've got to figure out or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not going to bug him. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to figure this out. And 9 times out of 10, enough research and I find the answer. But every once in a while, after like 90 minutes or 2 hours has gone by, I'm like, I don't have time for this anymore. And I hit you up. I'm like, dude, impulse. And then you come in and it's like a 2-minute job. And I'm like, God, I hate you so much, but thank you.
And then I get mad at you. I'm like, why did you wait 2 hours?
Because I don't want to bug you every time.
Weren't those 2 hours important for you?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's value in also like taking the path to learn things on your own, which would be a completely separate topic. But
write it down. Yeah. So, okay. Hey, listen, another fun one. And I have noticed something I'm seeing. I want to talk a little bit this is off topic of competition. I want to talk a little bit about the comments that I'm seeing, right? I'm not reading every single one, but I'm still reading most of them. And
they're amazing.
They're so amazing. And there's something happening. I'm seeing that when I look at the comments on my Skizzleman Live channel or on my MC Skizzleman channel, a lot of great stuff. You release a video, somebody's got something to say about it. I've never, in all the videos I've watched a fair amount of YouTube videos in my life, and I've perused through a lot of comments in the last 10 years. I've never seen what I'm seeing in our comments, and it's entire paragraphs, and it's like dissertations,
testimonials, from
dude.
people. It's fantastic. I don't think YouTube looks at comment length as part of its algorithm.
But if
it did, we would be so viral right now because like everybody is writing such amazing testimonials and their thoughts on the podcast and stuff, and like that's the kind of stuff that continues to drive us and continues for us to want to do this as long as we possibly can and talk about as many things as we can and hopefully somehow impact as many lives as we can. Like that we mentioned before, like that's part that I really didn't see coming when it came to this podcast. I thought it would just be a fun, entertaining listen, like people getting to know us a little bit better, but the fact that our insight on things that we've gone through together in our lives has somehow helped others is just amazing. Like it's really heartwarming, and I don't ever want to stop doing this. I know.
See, and here's what's interesting is that I'm with you. We still do have podcasts that are fun. They're fun, they're bubbly, and we've had the Ghost podcast, we had the We're Idiots podcast, we just did one about laughter. Like we have, and I want to continue that. I like the fact that we have a lot of different types of vegetables and fruits on this plate. I like that a lot, right? But what I'm realizing is that like I said, I want to get into that top 200, but that wasn't really where I was at when we started. I just wanted to do a podcast with my buddy. It was not until I was seeing the response. So the reason I want to talk about this is because to you people who are leaving these comments and these very long paragraphs and these testimonials like Impulse is saying, wow. And I'm very, very, very grateful, and they're very touching. And that is what made me be like, if this is what's happening, I want to do a whole lot of this. And that's we got to get on top 200. It's got to happen. And I'm not, and like I said, I'm not happy because if we're affecting these people, let's affect more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was going to say is like when we said, we want to get top 200, it's not like an ego thing. Right. It's not like, we want to hit that number just because like, look what we did. We're awesome. Yeah. We want to hit that number so that we feel like, we have now taken something that we know is good. And we can see that based on the feedback that we're getting and now get that out to even more people so that they can enjoy it as well. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are doing everything you can. I'm going to look at the camera now. You guys are doing everything you can. Leaving comments and supporting the show. We appreciate that. Obviously, if you have friends and stuff like that you haven't told about the show, that's probably the next step to help us spread the word. Because right now, that's kind of what we need. If the show's going to continue to grow, it's gonna just need people talking about it and spreading the word. Yeah, and you know what? They call it shameless self-promotion for a reason. We're doing that now, right now. And don't get us wrong. Everything's growing, like it's going in the right direction. It really is, But it's just I like what we have. The people who like what we have really like what we have, and there's a lot of people. If you've benefited from this, there's somebody out there who who doesn't even know that this show exists who could be benefiting from it. Right.
So go, yeah. So like, just go likey, subby,
Help us out.
dingy.
Likey, subby, dingy. Help us out best you can. Continue supporting, continue listening, and we love you all for it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, well, end here today. Another fun one.
Another fun one. Okay, I'll see you next time.
See you.